It's practical, actionable tips, strategies that are working right now. We're talking right now, not a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. This is current stuff. Easy, simple, inexpensive. You can implement. Yes, it requires work. Yes, this is not an overnight success, but you can do it. If others are doing it, you can too. Success in real estate is duplicatable. Stuff I teach you is not crazy, not complicated, not expensive. If you can just roll up your sleeves, show my awesome biceps, you can totally crush it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, a warm rockstar welcome to a great agent, Keller Williams agent, to a great student and a rockstar agent with Keller Williams, Mr. Scott Cunningham. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Rockstars.
Well, my background is in advertising. I have an advertising agency, Wheatland Productions, Cooperative Marketing, and I've been running that for quite some time. My wife started it in 2003, and she started out in real estate, what was it, about 4 years ago? 3 years ago, and she started getting on to me about late 2019 about getting my real estate license. And so oddly enough, I started taking the tests, and I ended up getting my real estate license March 1st. And of course, everybody knows what last year was like in the month of March is when the crazy pandemic hit. And
you really know how to start a career at the perfect time, right? Talk about a great timing.
Yeah.
Trial by fire.
Well, and with that being said, Keller Williams offers a lot of education. They have what's called the bold classes that are Brian Buffini. I went through 2 of those. Now, you know, nothing happened. I can tell you all the year of 2020, I did not sell one FSBO because I wasn't going after it, you know? And what I was doing was basically just kind of learning the ropes of the real estate industry. And what I was doing, Borino, is I was looking at a lot of agents and seeing their success. I mean, you have the big groups, you know, in our Keller Williams Overland Park office, you know, that have 10, 15 different agents, and they, you know, they pay for lead sources and they give their agents leads. And, you know, I mean, it's just my wife and I as our team. And so that's when I kind of reached out to a fellow agent in our office, and I said, what is with this for sale by owners thing? You know, what is this deal with expireds? And so he gave me a couple of names of coaches, and I'll be honest, I started watching their YouTube videos, Borino YouTube videos, and I kept watching, you know, the YouTube script that you have, you know, the easy script that you post all over Facebook, and I've got it right here. I mean, this is basically what I follow, and I, you know, I have obviously it took me a while, but it took me about 30 days to feel comfortable with your script. And I would say, I can't remember the exact date, but it was kind of like I had to make a decision within myself to say, okay, I've got to choose one program and go with it, and let's go head first. And, you know, I've got to dive into the pool and get wet. And
that is a good approach, because when you start, and all of these are fine programs, there's plenty of good coaches out there. Not nobody as charming, as good looking as me, but you know, I digress. But when you start getting all these inputs from all these people, and very often the advice may be even conflicting. Not that it won't work, but it's like sometimes in a direct opposite to what I teach or what somebody else would teach you.
Right.
It can actually slow you down and be a hindrance rather than propel you forward. So you deciding, I'm just going to go with this one, and I appreciate you pick me, is the best and fastest way to do it, because at the end, you're going to create like a hybrid, like your own approach. based on what works for you and what doesn't. So it took you about a month, and then you, I know you signed up for the boot camp, the For Sale by Owner boot camp.
Right.
And how were the first few calling FSBOs for you?
You know, it's weird. Right out of the chute, I was starting to get appointments, and I know without a question that it had to do with the phone script. And you know, I mean, it was, hey, this is Scott with Keller Williams, and now don't worry, I'm not another agent trying to list your house so you can relax and smile. You know the drill. You're the one that made
the pattern interrupt. Very good. Yeah.
And so, and my wife sits behind me, you know, and she listens to all my, you know, conversations with the FSBOs. And, you know, I have all your books over here. I've got the mindset. I'm going through the core influence.
Yeah,
I've
the
got
communication
expireds. And you know what? I have not called one expired. I've been so busy with FSBOs that right out of the chute, I think, what was it, in January, Denise? Mm-hmm. In January, I started viciously calling FSBOs by Red X. We have the Red X Vortex, and every single morning, I can't hardly wait to wake up, because I know on my cell phone I've got Red X where I can go, okay, here's today's, you know, they come up bold letters, just means they're new to Zillow. And just like today, I got up and first thing I did was look on my cell phone and was like, okay, well, I've got eight different people to call on. And granted, you're not going to get every single one of them, but I've got an appointment today at 1 o'clock at a FSBO.
And that's a FSBO?
That's a FSBO that is, now I gotta say, something you said that really kind of turned me around, because, you know, when you look at, like, you look at today's list of people that came in, you've got one for 299,000, which, by the way, I have an appointment with them Thursday at 1. And your suggestion of calling, using text and emails, I really don't work much with emails. I usually get a response. It's amazing. Yeah. Like this gal says, taking offers, showing it from 1 to 4 p.m. on Tuesday. It is selling as is. I said, okay, great. It took me a few weeks to you know, narrow that down. And to use all these texts, and actually it came from watching the FSBORINO videos, the bridge and all that. You know, when you explained that all, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, this makes perfect sense. I saw the system, I saw the formula, and, you know, it began to take shape and get into my head, where now I don't even think about it. It's like, this is what I do. You know, this is and people ask me, you know, it's like, well, what do you say? This is what I say. Yeah. It came straight from your scripts.
So Scott, how many FSBOs have you listed so far? What's your guess?
No, I think it's more than that. I think we're at about 12 to 15, something like
12
that.
12 to 15. Excellent.
Yeah.
And how many do you think you're going to get by the end of the year? What's your projection?
Oh, well, we're really rocking right now. I mean, you know, I mean, that's part of my presentation, is explaining to these sellers is you're basically advertising on Zillow and it's limited reach to potential buyers. And when you go outside of Zillow and use someone like myself and someone like my wife on our team that has a method of advertising effectively and giving you massive exposure versus limited exposure, then you're going to be playing in a pool with your beautiful house. Well, you're going to be playing in a pool with more A-list buyers. A-list
Yeah.
buyers. Where did that come from? Borino, hello. And explaining and educating these people to
Yeah.
the facts and the reality of Zillow. Zillow is going to bring in a lot of tire kickers, a lot of people that, like we buy ugly houses,
Mhm.
and and people don't understand that until they go through Zillow a few days or a few even weeks, and they experience this and they go, you know what, the guy's right.
Yeah.
This
So
Cunningham
even if
guy
the
is
market
right.
doesn't change, let's say things stay about the same, you can still list another 15 by the end of the year. So you're going to end up with 30 FSBOs. Is that realistic? Is that possible?
My wife just handed me a paper. It said we've signed 16 FSBOs since January 1.
16, and we're halfway through the year, so you can end up easily with 30. And if the market
Right.
does slow down, maybe more. Is that possible?
Right. Yeah, we've got, my goal is to do at least, yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we can't do another 16. And
That'd be awesome. Maybe.
all those FSBOs have the, various price points. I mean,
Sure.
what I was going to say is when we first started out, obviously the price point was much lower. It was like I was going after these $150,000 houses, $200,000 houses, $250,000 houses. And I thought, well, shoot, this is just, this is my niche. This is what I need to do. And then I heard in one of your videos, actually, I think it was one of the path sessions that we had, where you said, call on the FSBOs in whatever your lead source is, and don't skip anybody. Because I was looking at those $1 million, $200,000, houses, and I was kind of intimidated. I was thinking,
Yeah.
well, I can't get those, And then I started calling on them, and I closed a few, and I'm kind of like, dang.
Was there any difference between the low end and the high end? Were the sellers different? Was there much difference in the way you approached them, or did you get more
No,
objections? Was it any different?
No. The first one that we ended up getting, this will tell you how this works. But one of the first little properties we got was a FSBO that was over in Overland Park, over by the police station, and it was a little bungalow. It was a cute little bungalow, and the guy, I went over and met with him, and we just clicked. I don't know what it was, but his personality was, he had a long hair and a ponytail, and he and I just, we just clicked.
Yeah.
From day one. He was over there working in his house. He owns like 12 rental properties.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good connection to make. Wow, that's awesome.
Absolutely. And he and I, just to give you an idea, we sold that house. He had it listed on Zillow for what? 125,000, Denise? It was 125,000, and we sold the house for how much? 175.
Wow.
Don't you think that guy's happy?
You put way more money in his pocket. That's what I'm talking about. That's
$50,000 over and above. And this was after our little 3% commission.
Yeah.
And so he was so happy that we're going to get to list his house here in the next week or two. It's a $1.3 million listing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How long does it on average? I know it varies, but on average, from the time you make a phone call to the time you actually sign the contract, what is the average time frame?
It's a typical one that makes you work for it. It could take upwards of 3 months.
So some take few days, some few weeks, few months, right?
And fortunately for me, this is what I've been shaking my head about is, sometimes I get the listing on the very first appointment, the viewing appointment.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, I view a lot of FSBOs.
Yeah.
On any given day, I can go out and see 4 or 5 FSBOs.
4 or 5 a day.
4 or 5 a day. And
okay.
Granted, when I first started out, I was going through a bunch of gas and going after FSBOs that were a complete waste of time that I did not
Mm.
get. So I went over to this house, price point of I think it was 420,000 on Zillow. Nice neighborhood in Kansas City, Kansas. They called it Piper. And so I walked in, met the guy, and he was one of these guys where, he said straight up, we're not going to list it with an agent. And I
Mhm.
mean, you hear that so many times. We're not going to list with an agent. We're not going to list with an agent. We're not going to list with an agent. I don't even pay any attention to it anymore. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh, let me say it for you. You're not going to list with an agent, right? You know,
Yeah.
and if you become accustomed to that and you expect those words to come out of their mouths, when they say it, it rolls right off of you, and you just say, well, you just go right to, I usually just go right to the bridge. I mean, if
Yeah.
I understand you're going to, you're trying to save as much money as you possibly can. However, if I were to bring motivated, qualified buyers to take a look at your house, would you be willing to work with an agent? It's your
Yeah.
bridge, verbatim.
Yep.
And Bob said this morning to Denise, we sold his house yesterday, by the way,
Mm.
or we listed it for 400,000 and it sold for 395 yesterday. And
Mhm.
this was after us doing an open house last weekend, and we didn't get a lot of traffic. I'm not sure exactly what the deal was, but we ended up getting an offer and they accepted it yesterday. So we sold the
Yeah.
house.
Good job.
Yeah.
So, Scott, question for you.
Okay.
Clearly, you're just following a system. You're not doing anything extraordinary. You're not buying the business. You're
No.
not doing anything outrageous. You just follow a system. You have a good conversation on the phone, short, sweet. You set up the little appointment. You follow up with people. Then you get a listing appointment. And in some cases, you list the properties. That
Mm-hmm.
is, in a nutshell, what you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are folks watching this who either don't like for sale by owners, never worked for sale by owners, or maybe tried it, got rejected, dropped it, or it's not working for them. Based on your experience doing this for about 6 months now and getting great results, what would be like 2 or 3 practical tips or advice to these agents who would like to try it, who would like to duplicate your success? What would you advise them to, other than, of course, get FSBORINO? We're not here to sell anything. What would be your practical advice? How would you coach
That's
them?
what, quite honestly, that would be my first suggestion is get the FSBORINO, or at least go on your YouTube channel and, watch those YouTube videos and do like I did. I mean, I just typed it out. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with your personality and, how you feel about the scripts and the words and the wording, of what you're saying. And, it's just like back to Bob, that he was a great example of reality in working with FSBOs, because when he
Mhm.
gave me a hard time when I first met him, he was saying that his late father-in-law passed away, and from his deathbed, he said, if anything happens, don't sell the house and use a real estate agent. Can you believe that?
Mm.
I mean, from his
That's a
deathbed,
bad
here
advice.
here comes the
That is just a
voice of,
bad advice.
his father-in-law, and he's saying don't use a real estate agent. And
Yeah.
so I when I came back to the office uh, from that initial meeting about a week and a half ago, I used one of your little flyers,
Yeah.
in FSBORINO. I took the picture of the house and put it in there, and I emailed it to him. And I
Mhm.
called him the next morning and I said, Bob, it's Scott Cunningham. Did you check your email? Did you get the flyer that I sent over to you? And I I kind of I gave him all these tools in case he was wanting to have an open house.
Mhm.
And he was like, well, why would you send that? You know, And I said, well, in case you want to have an open house. And he said, well, he said, I really don't want to pay the 3% for listing, but you have been so attentive and
Mm.
so interested in helping us that we'd like to have you come back out, and I'd like to introduce you to my wife and my mother-in-law. And I signed them right there on that particular second meeting. It was like a day or two later.
That is
So,
outstanding. Do you ever get nervous? Do you still feel a little nervous calling
oh, all
FSBO?
the time, all the
Do you?
time. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the big thing. There's a lot, and this works in my favor. There's a lot of agents that will call these FSBOs, but they don't ever go out and see them.
Hmm.
And that's how I got Bob. Was I paid attention to him, and I said, okay, I'll be out at 1 o'clock. And I showed up at 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people, I guess, and I guess from our office, which is funny because a lot of these agents are calling. They're religious about calling, getting on the phone, calling, and but they don't go out. Going to the FSBOs and visiting with them and telling them, well, how about if I help you out and advertise your open house this weekend that they're already going to have on a Facebook, on Marketplace on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cost what? $10. I mean, that's brilliant.
Yep.
That's completely brilliant.
And then he has that follow-up strategy where he says, let me come over and I'll show you the results and some data that you will find interesting. I love that part. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a question for you. Yeah. We're going through some crazy times, obviously, the COVID, the market and all that. And many agents either left the business or they feel really discouraged. They keep complaining how there's no inventory and it's very hard to make a living. And you come across as someone who is very focused, very optimistic, has these great expectations and clearly getting good results. How do you keep your mindset so positive and full of this good, vibrant energy that leads you to more business and connecting with people and building these relationships without getting so discouraged? How do you do that? What is your secret?
Well, several things. I think your mindset book really, that and the core influence. We when was it, Denise, that we went? Oh, we've gone on a couple of trips and stayed in hotels, which, I mean, when you do that, you get away from the rat race. And, I take my laptop with me and I took both of those books and I basically read through both of them, and that encouraged me because, the little videos are hilarious. The way you put them together.
They come with the course. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. And I even had to show my wife, and we're in video. We produce videos. So when you see these little videos, it's like, okay, well, here's Borino saying, most FSBOs live in fantasy land. And you got the little uniforms, jumping around and everything. And you have the animated deals where, okay, how did they come up with a price point? And, and you've got this little animated figure. Well, they're going to pay off their credit cards. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And I mean, it all comes together in a humorous way. And you're kind of like, gosh, this all makes sense now, But, my wife just handed me a note. She said, it comes down to choosing a coach, practicing your scripts, both in person and the cell phone, the phone script. She does my CMAs for me. I do a CMA on almost every property. So I at least have something to refer to, in the viewing, because, when and then actually going on appointments, setting up as many appointments as you can, as viewings, and then following up. That's the steps.
The hardest part for you is not to follow the system. As you can see, the steps are not that complicated. With a little bit of practice and a little bit of tools, you can do it. The hardest part is for you to believe you can. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Say hi to Denise, everybody. She's the second half of this awesome team. Nice to meet you, Denise. That's awesome. Very cool.
Well, you asked me about my mindset.
Yeah.
I do have a routine in the morning. I'm a religious person, or actually a
Hmm.
person of faith, and I have my affirmations, and
Hmm.
I picked up the affirmations in bold, where as whatever you focus on expands, and I fill my mind with positive, good things, and um, I try not to pay attention to the negative part,
Hmm.
because there is a negative part to this. I
Sure.
mean, I did not mention the times that I have come home, practically in tears,
Hmm.
because you meet jackasses. I mean,
Yeah.
they're out there, and you got to have the right mindset, because if you don't, these people become emotional and dramatic.
Hmm.
So it comes down to your mindset. If you're not positive, if you're not, first thing in the morning, preparing your mind and your emotions to deal with sometimes ridiculous, weird people, then, and when it's going on, when you're in front of them, just do like you have said, high intent, no attachment,
Hmm.
move on. If these people, if they sense any neediness in me or lack of confidence, they're going to latch right onto it, and
Yeah.
I've lost.
And you're
I've
done.
lost out.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, thank you so much for the inspiration, for the insights, for the tips, for your time, and for showing folks it can be done. There is business out there. There are people out there who need your help, who will gladly pay you. You just need to break certain barriers. The first one is in your head, and that's the
Yeah,
biggest one. Once you get
absolutely.
through that one, then it's just a matter of developing these strategies and these tools and skills.
Our
But do you feel
advertising.
like with the right training and patience, pretty much anyone can do this?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have a script. You got to get your script down,
Yeah.
and it's like I got the flashcards. I've gone through everything. If anybody comes up with a an objection, which they're going to, you know,
Sure.
you just stick to the script.
You're ready. Yeah.
You know.
Well, I have an invitation for you guys. We decided to put together a program because, as you can see, it's really majority of your success will depend on your communication, not just with FSBOs, but in general, how you prospect, how you handle objections, how you set appointments, and all that. So tomorrow we're going to open registration to Confident Communication Bootcamp. The core influence that Scott been mentioning is going to be part of it. I'm going to teach you in 4 weeks. We're going to have 4 sessions plus 2 practice sessions, role play sessions, how to do all this. And as a bonus, I decided, because Scott is having such a great success with it, and there are plenty of opportunity. As a bonus, we're also going to include the FSBORINO as part of it. So you're going to get a whole package. So by the time we're done, you will know how to lead generate, how to follow up, how to set appointments, how to convert prospects, even sometimes rude or cold or difficult, into clients. So the registration is opening tomorrow. On Wednesday, I will send you an invite. We'll post it on Rockstars as well. We'd love to have you in the program. We take 50 people, tops. We cut it off at 50. And if you're my PATH student, you get a free ticket. Of course, I know, Scott, you have the PATH. So you probably will be there in a front row learning some cool new advanced stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's to me. I mean, it becomes redundant, but there are things in the boot camp or the program where you go, I forgot all about that. I need to
Yeah,
do that. You
yeah.
know.
And the power of the bootcamp will be both learning this stuff, but because we're going to have those 2 implementation sessions, you will actually have a chance to role play, to practice, to try it out. So you're not just learning, but you're using it. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Say big thank you to Scott and his lovely wife. Is it Denise? Denise?
Yes, Denise.
Yes. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you guys very much. You guys, if you have referrals going to Kansas City, please make sure you reach out to Scott. I'm sure he'll take take care of your clients. If you have any questions or need help, we're here for you. We're here to inspire you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Coach Borino signing off. I'll see you in the boot camp. Let's go get him. Bye, everybody.